Matt Patricia was a horrendous coach for the Detroit Lions. There's no doubt about it. However, he did do a few good things for this team. He destroyed us so much that we wind up we fired Bob Quinn, and that led to the inevitable hiring of Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. But there's another thing Matt Patricia did. We don't give him he doesn't deserve any credit at all except for these two things. With the 20th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Frank Ragnow. And that's why, again, that Bill Belichick wanted to give him credit for the offensive line that we have and for it being one of the best, if not the best offensive line in football. And that offensive line is in jeopardy for the next few weeks because we reported last night that Frank Ragnow has a partially torn pectoral muscle. And what that means is it's not like C.J. Gardner-Johnson was a full tear, not going to require surgery, not going to require him to be put on IR, but it may require him to miss a few weeks. Well, Dan Campbell gets on 97.1 The Ticket like he does every Tuesday, and he tells us what we already know. This is coming from Pride of Detroit. Says, first of all, Frank is stubborn. He's hard-headed, Frank. He's tough. He's stubborn. That's twice now. And he so wants to go, and he always wants to go, Campbell said, referring to him playing in this week's contest against the Seattle Seahawks. But this is something we're still talking about right now. I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do with him. A lot of it is where he's going to feel by the middle or end of the week. But he does have something in there referring to his tear. And he did play through some of this last week. We'll do what's best for him and what's best for us in the moment, ultimately. But you know how I feel about Frank. We all do. Appreciated the heck out of him. He's tough, man. And that's right. Frank Ragnow is a tough man. This guy, we know about the inoperable toe damage that he has. And Frank Ragnow, although he's only played one entire season in his career, this guy has battled through multiple injuries. I remember when he got hurt in the Tampa Bay Buccaneer game in the playoffs. I mean, we collectively was like, man, what the heck? He went down. It looked like he was going to be in massive pain, and we could potentially lose him for the rest of the game. This guy's a warrior. And I remember when the offseason first hit, we reported that Frank Ragnow was thinking about retiring. And then he was asked about that later in the offseason. And he said it was kind of a spur of the moment thing coming off the loss. And every NFL player goes through it through their season. But Frank Ragnow, man, remember, he was placed on injured reserve that first season under Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell with that toe. That's when that toe injury first popped up. Now, we know Frank wants to play. We know that. There's no doubt. All these guys are warriors. They want to play through injury. Amon-Ra St. Brown did it last year. He missed the game and then came right back in. He wanted to play. He had like a torn oblique or something crazy like that. These guys want to play. It's like going to battle together. That's literally what they're doing. And we know that it's something that David Montgomery said, like, really sunk in. He takes injury personal. Like, even though he has no control over that, he takes it personal. Like, if he gets hurt and can't play or perform to the level he wants, then he takes that personal, like he let his team down. And I know Frank, for all the stuff he's been through, I know he feels like that. So I know this guy wants to play, but the Detroit Lions need to weigh the pros and the cons, right? So we play the Seattle Seahawks at home. Do we want to beat them? Of course. Cannot stand them. We owe them a win. The victory in overtime last year, they just best us for the past couple of years, even going back to that 2016 NFL playoff. But we have to think about the long term here. And if he was to tear this thing completely, he's probably gone for the season, or at least best case scenario into the playoffs. If he was able to pull off what C.J. Gardner-Johnson was, then he could come back for the playoffs. So my honest opinion, obviously they're going to get medical opinions. They're going to reevaluate. They'll see how he feels. He played through it, but they didn't know he had it. Very, very similar to C.J. Gardner-Johnson, right? C.J. Gardner-Johnson played through a torn pec the rest of game 2. So you have to weigh the pros and the cons, right? Is it worth Frank Ragnow potentially tearing this thing fully and then he's out for the season? We need this guy. He is literally the center of our offensive line. He is what makes everything flow. A bad center, bro. Look at what's happening to the Philadelphia Eagles with no Jason Kelce. Now, Graham will probably come in and play center. He's done it before. He's not new to this, so we wouldn't be that bad. But look what happens, man. That chemistry is thrown off the offensive line. That could be a big, it's funny, man, because we really don't give the offensive line as much credit. I remember about 10 years ago, man, like even when we drafted him, we was like, what the? I remember who? And I was upset about the draft pick, but that was me from 6 years ago. That's not, you know, me now. Me now is this guy. I value how much the offensive line means to a team. Seeing what the Detroit Lions and a good offensive line could do. I've seen these quarterbacks. Caleb Williams is a fine example. The brother is running for his life. And there's multiple quarterbacks that all they do is run. They spend the entire game running for their life because their offensive line is absolute trash. Jared Goff has time back there to carve people up 90% of the time. And Frank Ragnow has a big part to play in that. So what do you think? I think Frank is not going to play. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. If the doctors say he could play and blah, 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 he might. But knowing what the Detroit Lions, how they handle injury, they do not take chances. So I think that this guy is going to be out. I think we could see Alex Anzalone back. I think Brian Branch is going to be out. I don't know if you guys saw what I saw. Brian Branch was out cold. Hendon Hooker was not out cold. Brian Branch was out cold for a good 5 to 10 seconds. I sincerely doubt he will play in this game. But obviously if he does, then they saw he was okay, but he's in concussion protocol. Now, if you're knocked out cold, just like Alex Anzalone, he wasn't knocked out and he was out. And so I think he's going to be out. I really do. But I thought Hendon Hooker was going to be out, and apparently he played. So let me know your thoughts, Frank Ragnow. What do you think the Detroit Lions should do? What do you think they're going to do? I think he's not going to play, because we got the bye week, so we can see how he feels going into Dallas. Like if I had to be like, okay, Frank, I know you want to play, right? But we need you for Dallas, man. So if there's any chance that you can be good or better for Dallas and it's not as risky after the bye week, then just play then, bro. Like, let us do this. And you can come back after the bye week, right? Best case scenario. So that's my thought. I think Frank, we know he wants to play, but I don't think the Detroit Lions are going to let him. Dan Campbell said all the right things there, but let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Remember, this channel is brought to you by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. You could be anywhere else on YouTube, but you choose to rock with me. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.